Okay, so it's finally spooky season, so I figured now's the time to whip this story out. Do you guys remember this? Oh, do you guys remember this? That's the Bodies World exhibit. And chances are if you grew up in the 2000s, you probably even went to this exhibit as part of a school field trip. Nothing therapy can't fix, am I right? In case you have no idea what I'm talking about or you need a refresher, the Bodies World exhibit first debuted in 2005 at the California Science Center. And this entire thing is the literal brainchild of Dr. Gunther von Hagens, a German anatomist. And way before that, von Hagens was most famous for his technique called plastination, which he invented in 1977, which is essentially a way to preserve a dead body, replacing the body in fat with a mixture of plastic polymers plus formaldehyde. Originally, Hagens used this plastination techniques on very small tissue samples to be used in medical school for like anatomy classes. And this continued on for like 20 plus years until his patent got so successful. And it was around this time that von Hagens began to experiment using plastination on much larger specimens. In other words, a whole ass human. Each body specimen took 1,500 hours of work to full body plastinate and mold into lifelike poses, and then finally dissected to show the layers of the human body underneath for educational purposes. In 2005, when it launched, it was wildly successful. It garnered more than 26 million visitors around the world in over 50 cities around the world. And if you think about it, this was truly the first time ever that people were able to see a human body up close and personal in a way that we've never been able to see it before. Although the exhibit was successful, there were some major red flags. The first one being the poses. Some of the bodies were posed in very sexual positions. And then they had a pregnant woman on display with her fetus inside. And then they also had several other fetuses on display, some normal, some deformed. Like, where did they find a pregnant woman who consented to being put on display like that after death? This kind of opened the floodgates to questioning, which was, where the heck was Dr. von Hagens sourcing these bodies? Although this is technically a traveling exhibit, they have 5 permanent locations. And for each new exhibit, they have their own set of bodies, 25 bodies. So just right there, that's 125 bodies, not including all of their temporary exhibits, which they travel around worldwide. But stick with me, we're almost at the end here. So naturally, the question that everyone wanted to know was, were these bodies legally and ethically obtained? Dr. von Hagens assured everyone that everything was above board. Before the debut in 2005, the California Science Center hired this ethics professor to essentially investigate all the bodies. He was able to match the over 200 donation forms to the death certificates, but more critically, he could not match the paperwork to the actual bodies that were on display at the museum. Then it gets worse. I mean, don't judge a book by its cover, but now that we've read a few chapters, I mean, this von Hagens character works in a concealed laboratory behind a movable staircase where he performs all of his creepy plastination techniques. And then it just gets plain weird. In 2018, the International Coalition to End Transplant Abuse in China raises the alarm bells when they found credible evidence that the bodies used in the Australian exhibit, maybe more, were the bodies of executed Chinese prisoners. It was then later revealed that 2 of the 647 corpses that were stored in China had bullet holes in their skulls. Okay, got too dark outside, so I had to transition inside. Anyways, so all of this came to light in a damning email correspondence between Dr. von Hagens and his Chinese manager, who was boasting in his email that he just got a pair of fresh samples, a man and a woman who had died just that morning from a shot to the head. When asked to comment, von Hagens goes, "I can't prove that these bodies weren't executed, but I believe they weren't." And get this all came on the heels of custom officers who intercepted 56 bodies and hundreds of brain samples are being sent to von Hagens' lab in Heidelberg, Germany. And these cadavers were traced back to a Russian medical examiner who was convicted the year before for illegally selling bodies of homeless people, prisoners, and impoverished hospital patients. To this day, von Hagens has never shared how any of the bodies have died, stating that it's a breach of medical privacy of the deceased to disclose that. Ultimately, von Hagens was never charged for any of it and is still insistent that he obtained all the bodies legally and ethically. And Bodies World still lives on to this day.